Welcome to the Empowering Voices of Harmony, Cold Journeys to Mental Health Wellness. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work. We pay our respects to elders, past and present, and we extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples tuning in today. A disclaimer that this podcast is intended for educational purposes only and should not be relied on as personal advice. Always seek the guidance of your doctor, psychologist, or other qualified health professionals regarding your physical and/or mental health. If you're experiencing a crisis, call 000 or Lifeline on 13 11 14 for suicide prevention services. Lifeline also offers SMS service on 0477 13 11 14. To learn more about Mental Health Foundation Australia, visit our website at mhfa.org.au. You can also follow us for updates on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook. You can also call us at 1300 643 287 or email us at admin@mhfa.org.au.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Empowering Voices of Harmony, Cold Journeys to Mental Health Wellness. My name is Abby and today we'll be talking to a Melbourne icon and a good friend of us here at the Foundation and myself, Lucy Larita. Lucy Larita is a distinguished Melbourne-based fashion designer who has mastered the art of custom dress designs, celebrating simple couture beauty, crafting exquisite evening gowns, and curating captivating bridal wear. Her journey in the world of fashion is a tale of passion, dedication, and an unyielding commitment to creating unforgettable moments through her designs. Lucy's ascent to fashion prominence began in 2005 when she unfurled her own label, Layla, which would later evolve into her eponymous Lucy Larita brand in 2017. With each passing year, her reputation has grown thanks to her knack for glamorous high fashion and her unwavering dedication to personal service. Lucy's creations have adorned the most discerning clientele, including notable personalities gracing the TV Week Logie Awards. Her work has been featured in media, earning her a place on the illustrious Roth Runway on Studio 10 and a presence on the hit TV show Real Housewives of Melbourne. Additionally, Lucy has lent her creative business to numerous stage productions, notably as the head of costume design for Titanic the musical. Lucy's journey into the world of fashion was paved with love and inspiration from her mother, a skilled dressmaker. This early exposure ignited her passion for dressmaking, leading her to study and ultimately work as the design assistant to Australian fashion icon Jenny Bannister for 8 formative years. As an Australian with Italian heritage, Lucy values community well-being and actively participates in fundraising for charitable organisations. She is deeply committed to helping support events that mentor and nurture youth talent, helping these people reach their full potential. In August 2019, she was proudly inducted as a Multicultural Ambassador here for the Mental Health Foundation Australia, demonstrating her dedication to making a positive impact on society. Thank you, Lucy, for joining us here today at Mental Health Foundation.
Hi, Abby, and thank you for having me. Thank you to Mental Health Foundation Australia for welcoming me to be an ambassador. I'm very proud and honoured to be a part of it.
Yeah, and you've done so much here for the foundation as well, like multiple fashion shows, multiple runways, and it's just a pleasure to watch the designs.
I think I gain a lot of from it, and being a part of it and sharing whatever I can to inspire someone else.
And from a selfish perspective, I've had the chance to wear Lucy's designs myself a few times. And
I'm very thankful that you've been a part of a few runways now.
Yeah, so and always good to work with you as well. But let's jump right into it. So, as someone who was born here, can you share the journey of your parents' immigration from Italy to Australia and what you've sort of witnessed? Like, how do you think, if they've spoken to you about it, but since you've been with them, how do you think the transition affected their mental health? Were there specific stresses and things like that as they faced as immigrants? And has there been a long-lasting impact mental health-wise on your family's personal dynamic with each other?
Yes, definitely. 100%. So, I mean, to give you a bit of a backstory, like my dad was the second youngest of 11 children. So, already in that, and he lost his mother very young. So there was that aspect of having to, start work early at a very young age and not being able to continue further higher education, the expectations of that. And then when he decided to make a move to Australia, he was 23. My mother was only 16 at the time, so they were very young. So she didn't come out. So he came out first, and he landed in Sydney because he had his older sister was already in Sydney. Yeah. So he lived with her and worked for 2 years before he called out for my mum's hand in marriage. So then she was 18, leaving her family, friends, like already that, having your so-called fiance leaving, and you're only 16, then he calls you out to marry, you sort of feel, well, this is it, I have to go. And she only had one sibling, her brother, and he was only 11 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was 7 years. We've got this famous 7-year gap in our families, which has continued. So she left, and it was a ship, so it was 3 months on a ship, which was incredibly sick on that. And then they decided to marry in Melbourne and live in Melbourne. My dad had a brother, and here. So it was lots of adjustments, especially I know from my mum's point of view. She did have an auntie and cousins in Melbourne, but it wasn't like having her mum. So she really struggled with that. I get a bit emotional, but I try not to be emotional. So she was, she fell ill with depression and anxiety pretty much early on when she arrived. But, she was quite resilient, as in, like, she kept going. Like, she, had her children, she had my sister and I, and she worked, she always worked. There was always never short of hard work in my family.
It's the immigrant way.
Yes, you had to work. So anyway, then at that time it was it was all about being medicated for whatever you were suffering. And somehow she got by raising us as babies and managing it all. They didn't get to go back to Italy to see their family till over 10 years.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it took that long for them to, and it was for my mum's brother's wedding. So she left him as a little boy.
Come back to him at 21 from 11.
Yep, for his wedding. My sister was 8 and I was 1. So there you go, another 7 years. So that's, like if you can imagine what that would be like to leave your little brother and then go back,
It's fully grown
and he's
adult.
getting married. So the struggles were isolation, 100% isolation, language barrier. Both my parents struggled with the language barrier. They were lucky to get jobs in factories where there was a lot of immigrants. So they that part of life they enjoyed because they found a little community within the work environment till factories closed. in the 90s, and that had a big impact on
I
my
can
family.
imagine.
My dad lost his job after working for the same company after 25 years, lost all entitlements. There was no super payout. So he was out of work for it was 11 months, and at 50 he went to TAFE.
Wow, what did he study?
It was at that time, it was like a course on CAD CAMs.
Okay.
To, for re-employment.
Yeah.
Into a modern sort of job.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. He did find work after that, but not in that area. But he went to TAFE, and it was I remember as a young teenager, having a little joke, "Oh, Dad, you're going to school now."
Yeah.
But
3 backpacks in the house.
For him, it would have been, really confronting to go to TAFE and be in a group of younger boys, or a mixed class. I would say at that time it would have probably been a group of boys.
Yeah.
And not having work for 11 months. That was tough. For me, I saw it as, bonus, I get a lift to school. I don't have to catch the bus and the train. But, yeah. And then after that, where my mum worked, that factory closed, and the same thing. She was there at that place, I think it was about 19 years, lost all entitlements, no super, because that's what happened at that time. There was no regulation, and companies used super money and reinvested in their businesses, and then didn't have the money.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a dark time, but they got through it.
They've had just all of these waves, coming to a new country, settling down, leaving family behind. I can only imagine how that was. I moved to Queensland at 17 for a year, and that was hard enough to be away from my family and try and make new friends, and I was only a 4-hour plane ride away. I can't imagine being 3 hours on a boat to go back home just to see family.
30 days on a boat.
Oh,
30 days.
Much better than 3 months. Okay.
Oh no, 3 months. Sorry, you said 3 days. 3
3
was
months.
it 3 months or a month? Did I say 3 months?
I think so.
Now, let me go. I have to really come back and check that. Was it 30 days or 3 months? Now, I have to check.
Either way, I can't even handle 30 hours
Someone
on
can
a
write a
flight.
comment after watching this.
But I can only imagine what that would have been like to leave everything behind and know that in order to get back to what you know, it is such an extensive journey. It's not a quick...
Well, luckily,
dip
when
to
we went as a
tolerate.
family when I was a baby at 1, it was
Flights.
a plane ride. It was a plane ride, yes. Yeah. And then I went, the next time I went was just me and my mother and I. And that was when I was 11. And it was because my grandmother was terminally ill. So
Yeah. Has she had a chance to go back since and see more family? Is her brother still there? Is your dad's, 2 of them live in Australia, you mentioned? Are the other 8
so
in Italy?
all his siblings, because another sister was also then had moved to Sydney.
Yeah.
So all his siblings in Australia have passed away.
Okay.
I do still have relatives in Sydney. In Italy, my mum's brother is still living, and he's got his family, and that's fantastic. And my dad has 1 brother left in Tuscany. Everyone else, I've got lots of cousins.
Yep.
Lots of cousins, it's just my dad and his younger brother left.
And they haven't let that bond diminish at all, even though they grew
up. They were very close, and they looked very similar.
Yeah.
So I recently travelled with, my parents have been many times themselves, so I'm grateful that they've had that opportunity to keep going. Earlier this year, I travelled with my family, and I took my kids to meet everyone.
Yes.
So that was an amazing journey, and reconnected, and it's really amazing to have that experience, but it made me feel also a bit sad because, how much we're also missing from being close to our family there. But it was like we really never left.
Yeah.
They embraced us, like, you know, we had to really stay a few days everywhere because we were travelling all over. But we managed, and in that time we reconnected like we were never apart.
Yeah, it's so good. Like, you've got 2 generations now born in Australia, but still that link back home. Like, that's amazing. Well, your parents, their experiences as, like, immigrants here has clearly had such a big influence on you. What sort of insight did you have and understanding did you have of your mental health in connection to theirs? Like, you've mentioned your mum's struggles with depression and how she powered through and raised 2 kids and was so resilient. Like, that's had a big impact on you, I take it, given how much work you do with the foundation as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess that's given me that passion and drive to make a difference, because when I was growing up, you know, even through my own bouts of, you know, feeling like depressed and isolated through various situations, it was not spoken of. Yeah. There was no talk of it. It was like you spoke of the physical element of like what happens to you when, like, or what you're feeling or what symptoms you're having, but it was never spoken of as mental health. I didn't know never heard that term until I was much older. Depression, anxiety, panic attacks. No,
Swept under the rug.